Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. It appears that we're having an echoing sound, so hopefully we're able to get through this evening without any problem. Thank you once again for joining us on day 25 of the Chom's Medi Helps Foundation Black History Month, our first annual Black History Month. What does that mean? That means we'll be back. I'm going to ask A. Maurice to turn down his volume just a little bit because that might be why we're getting that echo. All right, let's see. Okay, so today we have a man with us who's going to cover the male aspect of everything. As it relates to mental health and as it relates to family component, he is going to present information. His name is A. Maurice Harvey. He is a licensed clinical social worker, primarily serving the greater Charlotte community. In 2008, he earned his Bachelor of Social Work degree from UNC Charlotte. In 2013, he graduated from Winthrop University with a Master of Social Work degree with a focus on empowerment across systems. He began his journey in human services to group homes in 2006, quickly transitioning to community mental health agencies after graduating with BSW, serving at-risk and low-income populations, which makes him a senior subject matter for today's topic. He's worked in traditional housing programs and spent approximately 2 years as a Mecklenburg County social worker within their community support services division, where he was recently housed formerly chronically homeless individuals in a single occupancy residential setting, formerly known as Moore Place. Maurice's most recent focus work has been on people who are transitioning through adult life situations, informally coined adult, which brings us back to day one when we learned about adulting with health insurance. So he's going to cover some more adulting for us this evening, as well as engaging in couples work. Currently, he owns and operates, and he's the boss of Who's Better For You, PLLC, where he engages in outpatient therapy, speaking opportunities, and consulting work. In the fall of 2022, he founded Black Male Therapists of Charlotte Incorporated. BMT is designated as a 501c3 nonprofit organization focusing on developing networks for men of color who are currently licensed or seeking licensure, with the intent of addressing social issues in underserved communities. Maurice has an affinity towards low-income individuals, families, and communities, especially people who are transiently housed, meaning their housing is temporary. They're not expected to be in that one place for long. So we all know when we are adulting and we're moving out from a temporary situation to a permanent situation, we all need help with that. In his personal time, Maurice enjoys writing. He has self-published 2 books and making memories with his wife of over a decade and their 3 children, a lively teenage daughter, and 2 amazingly talented sons. And so, with that being the case, please know that we at Chom's Medi Health Foundation thank Maurice for giving us of his time this afternoon. Hopefully, we're able to manage our ways through this event. I'm hearing a lot of echoing, and if not, we'll bring him back. I know he would love to come back because he wants people to know exactly what he does for his community. It's so important. So let's see if we can get through this. And once again, if not, we will definitely bring him back on so they can hear even further. So with that being the case, I'm going to go ahead and turn the mic over to A. Maurice and let him tell us what we all need to know about helping each other through some of the most difficult, challenging mental and physical times that there are.
Sandra, thank you so much for having me. I know there was a conversation you were saying there was a lot of echo, and I could kind of hear the echo when you were talking. I turned my volume all the way down. How's the mic sounding now? Sounds good. Okay. Um, all right. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Maurice Harvey. Um, and I'm gonna talk to you about the power of choice. Um, and I'm gonna kind of walk you through my life just a touch, give you some background on who I am, how I got to where I am, and how I learned to take control of my life through the power of choice. So again, I'm Maurice Harvey. A is the first letter of my first name. My name is Andre, but I've always gone by Maurice. My mom actually was just here today because I yesterday I received an award from a nonprofit here in Charlotte for being an outstanding member of the community who is a black male and who's a father. And so um, I should have asked her, people ask me all the time, why do you go by your middle name instead of your first name? And for years, I never paid any attention. I never thought anything about it. But I'm gonna ask her today when I when we wrap up. Um, this is an opportunity for you to kind of get a better understanding of who I am, what I'm doing here in the city of Charlotte, the state of North Carolina, but also what I plan to do nationally and potentially even internationally. Because I think when you consider who you are, where you are, and what you have going on, it's important to be able to um, use the power of choice to promote your self awareness and then also self direction. Um, so I grew up just my mother and I. Uh, we grew up, low income, and born in New York. We moved to Atlanta, and for the first 7 years of my life, I was in Atlanta, outside of Atlanta, and I saw a lot of different things in the communities that we lived in. And then when I was about 7 years old, we moved to North Carolina, which is where my maternal family is mainly housed. My grandmother specifically. So my mother and I, we lived with my grandmother for a while. Then, thankfully, there's a governmental support system out there called Section 8. We were able to get housing and that kind of deal, and we kind of used that for a little bit. Okay, there's a issue with the headphones. Let me see if I can put these headphones on. Give me 1 second, you all. I'm gonna try to set this up real quick. Hello, can you hear me? Let me see if it connected. Bluetooth.
I can hear you, Maurice.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, it's connected to the Bluetooth. Okay, all right. Um, and so my mother and I, we lived with my grandmother for a while, and then we were able to get Section 8 and find housing and all that good stuff. My mother introduced me to the church when I was probably about 2 years old, and then she became a minister when I was around. It said connect. That was weird. It was already connected, but now it's saying connected. Um, she introduced me to church when I was about 2, and then I was about 5 years old. She became a minister, and then we grew up in the church. My mother was a holiness minister. Um, okay, it keeps saying connected, disconnected. I'm sorry. Oh, okay, sorry. Um, and so okay. Um, and so one of the things that my mother taught me very young in life was to be a good steward. Um, and so as I uh, was graduating high school, trying to figure out what my next move was going to be, what I was going to do with my life, I decided college was a good route. I had gotten to some. Um, I was blessed enough to not get into trouble like many of my friends were in trouble. Even though I did mischievous things, um, I was able to escape a lot of the things that I was getting into back home, by going to college, and so that's what I did. Um, and while I was in college, I think it was very interesting that as I transitioned out of high school into college, I thought a new environment would cause me to have new behaviors. But what I did was really I just brought everything that I had been doing back home to the city of Charlotte, into the what I was doing here in Charlotte. Um, and it wasn't until my sophomore year, I had joined a fraternity, and one of the guys in the fraternity was like, "Man, Maurice, the things that you're doing, who you are, the leader that you are, people are really comfortable with you. You have great leadership skills." Um, and so, what you should think about becoming a social worker. And now, mind you, I told you guys the first, in my childhood and adolescence, I grew up in impoverished communities, and I saw a lot of different things. And social workers were typically white women accompanied by police officers, and so that's what I knew of social workers. And so I looked at him and I was like, no way, no way I can be a social worker. Those people don't look like me, and my people don't really, social workers and police officers are not the fans of the community. And he said, and at this time, I had braids, and I came through the Jeezy era, right? So the Camp Band, the Snowman t-shirts, baggy jeans, Jabos and Tims, that was kind of my style. And he was a young man from Columbia, South Carolina, who looked like me. He had dreadlocks. He, again, this is one of my close friends, and he says, "Well, I'm a social worker." And I go, "What? You're a social worker? Like, what would make you do that?" And we had a conversation. I met the advisor, and I changed my major that semester. And it's probably the most powerful thing that I did in my adulthood to that point. Um, as I took classes in social work, what I realized is the things that I grew up with in my community, the lessons that I learned around support and connectivity and collectivism and being a good neighbor, being a good steward. Those things all are what social worker, theories around, person and environment and all these different kind of thought processes. It's what social work is about. I literally graduated with probably a 3.6 GPA in major GPA. Although my overall GPA doesn't reflect the same. I was again in a fraternity, and before then I was a very young, immature, and ambitiously um, spontaneous young man. And so, although my overall GPA didn't reflect that, my in major GPA was amazing. And right before I graduated, well, 2 years before I graduated, I started working in group homes, because once I switched my major to social work and I realized, like, man, the things that I was taught, the things that I was encouraged to do as a child, I can do that and get paid for it. I immediately started working in group homes. And I wanted to work in group homes because the communities that I come from, those are the kind of kids that I would hang out with. Those were my friends. Um, Although they weren't necessarily in the group home, they probably qualified for the service at the time, and I probably did too. Um, and so working within a group home, and graduating with my bachelor's in social work, I was like, this is it. This is my thing. This is my calling in life. And so I actively decided. Again, this is a power of choice. I chose um, to do community based work. And once I started doing community based work, again, it was the same philosophy. I was in the group homes because I'm a social worker and I wanted to impact change in young Black men's lives. And now I'm going to go do the same thing in the community. And so I started doing community based work where I had a caseload of 10, 12 kids, young Black males, who were having trouble in school, having trouble at home, having trouble in the community, gang affiliated, drug connected, um, multi generational poverty, type of kids in those type of environments in those communities. And so as I did that kind of work from 2008 until 2011, um, 2010, and then I decided, like, man, you know what? With everything that's going on, I really want to go back and get my master's. I need a deeper understanding because I kept seeing the same patterns of behavior that I saw growing up in my neighborhood, growing up in my community, and then spending, several years in the city of Charlotte, going to different sides of town, seeing the same exact kind of decision making. I was like, you know what? No, there's got to be a different way. So again, the power of choice, right? And so I chose to go get my master's. And I tell people this jokingly, but I'm so sincere. I never wanted to be a therapist. I understood that the places that I needed to go to to be heard by the people that needed to hear me, there were certain things I needed to do, which the main thing being getting the credentials. Um, the work that I was going to do, or the work that I am doing, I was called to do. The paper doesn't qualify me to do the work. Um, it qualifies me for people to put me on a platform, sure, but the things that I was already going to be doing, I was called to do. So this is I'm literally living in my calling on a day-to-day basis. But I chose to, I actively chose to let this be a part of my work. And so once I got my master's, I really, began understanding a little bit more about why people decide to do the things that they do, why they make the decisions that they make. Um, and that's when it hit me. So from 2013 until 2015, I worked for several companies around the city of Charlotte, and what I saw was a pattern of behavior in the companies. There are companies who poorly treat their therapists. And it's not just a city of Charlotte issue, a county of Mecklenburg issue. I've heard people talk about how social workers are overworked and underpaid, underrecognized, underappreciated, and I was able to experience that in those couple of years, and so I started Choose Better for You because it was a part of my testimony, a part of my walk, and the part of what I'm going to talk about again in the power of choice. So I'm going to break down Choose Better for You because I think it's important for people to understand it's not just my brand, it's not just my company, but it's truly a way of life. And so I use my shirt as an example because what better marketing uh, strategy than to actually be the brand, right? And so the first word in my brand is choose, and again, it's the power of choice. It is your ability to recognize that you have authority over your life to make decisions. And so often we take for granted that we have the authority to make decisions. And so when I teach the power of choice, I talk about active versus passive decision making because a lot of times people say, "Well, I didn't decide to do anything." That means you passively chose, right? You were passively accepting that this is what's happening in your life because you didn't choose, you didn't actively decide to do anything about it, and so you are sitting in a passive position in your own life. So and people say, and I used it's a movie called not Higher Learning. Um, oh my goodness. Uh, with the song with Coolio, Gangsta Paradise. What is this? Michelle Pfeiffer was the teacher. I can't think of it, but anyway, Dangerous Minds. Thank you, Dangerous Minds. It's a great scene in Dangerous Minds where um, Michelle Pfeiffer says, you get to choose, and the kid goes, well, we don't get to choose. If somebody got a gun to my head, I don't get to choose whether I live or die. And she said, no, but you do get to choose how you live in that moment, or something to that effect. And I talk to people about, you might not have all the decisions that you want to make. You might not get all the options to lay it out, but you do get to decide how you choose what you choose, right? So you may not get the option to live or die if a gun is to your head, but you absolutely get to say, hey, in this moment, I'm going to run, or hey, in this moment, I'm going to freeze, or hey, in this moment, I'm going to pray, or in this moment, I'm going to cower and plea for my life, or in this moment, I'm going to accept that they're going to pull the trigger. And that is the end of my story on this side of life. Um, and so when I talk about the power of choice, people are I love watching people's eyes open as they realize how often they are passively choosing, because they once you accept that you are passively choosing, then you get to say, wait, why am I not actively choosing certain parts and pieces of my life, right? And so that's the power of choice. Better. Better is an acronym that I use, becoming empowered to transcend every roadblock. And it's in the colors of the rainbow. And people often are like, Maurice, why you use the colors of the rainbow? Is it like gay pride? And I'm like, well, truthfully, the rainbow is a diverse sign of hope. But better is in the colors of the rainbows because everybody's better looks different. I can't tell anybody what's going to be better for them. right? Only you get to choose what's going to be better for you. Now, I can talk to you about options. I can talk to you about perspective. I can show you different, lifestyles, but ultimately, you have to actively choose what is your better, right? Now, my company is choose better, the number four, the letter U. And people go, again, Maurice, why did you use the number four instead of saying the word four? Well, four has it has two meanings. Four, or Charlotte, better known as the foe, right? Um, so it's a head nod to the city of Charlotte because this is where we're based. But also the four is the four ways that I believe we try to manage what comes into our life. So the first way is avoidance, right? Oh, this thing is happening. I'm gonna try my best to avoid it, act like it's not there, dismiss it as if it doesn't exist, or we work around it, right? Like, okay, I know it's there, but I don't want to necessarily address it. I'm gonna try to figure out how to maneuver, how to finesse, how to manipulate the situation so I can just kind of work around it. The third way is push through. All right, I see it. I'm attack it. I'm gonna demolish it, and that's it. The problem's gone away. And the fourth way, which I think is the most important way to, really acknowledge some things, is we accept that they're there, and then we pick them up and we learn how to carry out life, knowing that they're a part of our story, right? These things that we're like, oh my goodness, I don't want this to be a part of my life. I can't believe this happened. I can't believe I did this, or, why me, and all of these different things. Well, sometimes you just have to pick those up and go, this is my burden. This is my cross to bear. This is part of my testimony. This is part of my story. And a lot of times we want to look back at those things and go, I should have known better. Well, you know better now, and that's great. But you know, you can't. I tell people it's way more important to not judge yourself for the decisions that you made with the information that you had at the time, right? A lot of times we can look back, and people do this a lot with fashion and go, "Oh my goodness, what was I wearing 20 years ago?" When they pull up a picture of them at 20 years old, and now they're 40, 50 years old, going, "Oh, I thought I was hot stuff, man. This is that outfit, this, that, and the third." And it's like, well, that was the style at the time, and so you were doing your thing. You was dressed to the nines, right? Um, and then the last part of my brand, Choose Better for You, is a single letter U. And a lot of people are like, you could have spelled it YOU. Why did you put a singular letter U? And I put the singular letter U because a lot of people are island type people. I did it by myself. I didn't need any help. I'm self-made, right? In the streets, we say we got it out the mud. In the politics, they say pull yourself up by the bootstraps. It's all the same concept. When the truth of the matter is, you don't do it alone. You may feel alone, but it's an active decision to not build your community, right? Not build a tribe around you to support you in what you're actively doing. A lot of times we get bogged down and want to depend on the people who were a part of our lives, and that's going to be my community. That's going to be my tribe. Well, sometimes your community looks at you and go, "What are you doing? You're trying to be different. We're going to laugh at you for trying to be different. We're going to hope for your failure, and then we're going to welcome you back into the mundane and mediocrity of who we are, especially if you're trying to do something different than what we're doing, or you're trying to make it seem like you're quote unquote better than us. Then we're going to drag you down and hopefully again laugh at you on your way, but also limit our support. So now we're back in community, and if that's the kind of community that you're in, being able to actively decide, I'm not going to continue to sit in this kind of situation. I am going to actively choose to build a community around me that is going to help elevate and uplift me. Um, a lot of people talk about um, as parents. Many people have heard, show me your friends and I'll show you who you are, right? And a lot of times it's a negative connotation, you know. And the truth of the matter is, if you look at the collective community around you, it's probably a solid reflection of who you are, what you do on a regular basis, who you do it with, um, and those type of things. And if you're trying to elevate beyond that, if you're trying to do something different, it may be that either these people are unable to support you in trying to become better, which means it's important for you to build a community around you to actively decide. to make a shift so that you can become the person that you're supposed to be. Um, and so as I'm navigating Choose Better for You, I build it out, and I'm like, man, um, I mean, this is cool. I have my own company. I have my own brand. I'm able to do things in a way that I feel, honored and building the community, supporting the community. And then I realize, wow, people keep saying this one thing to me, and it's so weird because I don't necessarily know that I believe it, but they kept saying, Maurice, oh my God, you're a black therapist. You're a black man that's a therapist. You're a unicorn. And I was like, man, there's got to be other black male therapists around. And so for years, I had this idea around assembling a group of men who are therapists and, connecting with one another, and then strengthening our ability to impact the community. And I had that vision in 2013, and it wasn't until 2022 when I founded Black Male Therapists of Charlotte, an organization that's a designated 501c3, where we connect on a regular basis, and then we go into the community to just support the community right where they are, whether that's in the school setting, whether that's in the community environment setting, whether that's having private programming, whether that's we're in the process of trying to identify a school to sponsor, if you will, as our designated. This is the school that we're dedicated to. Whatever that presence of black male authority looks like, we want to be that, and we want to educate kids that therapy is a route not only to go to for mental health needs, but you could be a therapist. We're just regular guys, regular people helping regular people. We just happen to have some specific skill sets that help you see things a little bit differently, a little bit clearer, so that you can make decisions that help you um, navigate life and make decisions that are the best for you. And so, Black Male Therapists of Charlotte came about in 2022. We have about 14 members now, and we are affiliated with about 30 other black male therapists all around the city of Charlotte. My goal is for every black male therapist who is in the city of Charlotte or connected to the city of Charlotte, or young men who are looking to be um, a black male therapist, to have an opportunity to connect with the community that's going to put them in the best situation to support them in the things that they're trying to do. And so my willingness to actively choose to walk out the purpose that I know that I'm called for in my life is why I think more people need to hear about the power of choice. Because at any point in time when I feel stagnant, I recognize, I sit back and I evaluate, well, Maurice, what is it that you're doing? What is it that you're not doing? How are you, how are you impacting the community? How is the community impacting your life? And if I feel like I'm being stagnant, it's because I began to be passive in my decision making. And it's only when I decide to become active in my decision making that um, I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And so people will always ask this question. I think, well, Maurice, how do I become more active in my decision making? I'm gonna give you one quick intervention that I often teach, and it's SMART goals. A lot of businesses use SMART goals to establish, after they've done a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and all this kind of stuff. They'll come up with SMART goals. And so I'm gonna quickly teach um, SMART goals because I think that's a great way to do it, um, to become active. So SMART goals is an acronym, SMART. So S means simple, M is measurable, A is attainable, R is realistic, and T is timely or time sensitive. And um, and of course you can use your web browser and search SMART, and they'll show you like the acronyms and give you the breakdown about what it all means. But simple doesn't mean that the goal in itself is simple, right? It just means that the wording of the goal is simple. Someone with a fifth grade education being able to pick up your SMART goal and go, hey, that's pretty simple. I can understand what the goal is. M is measurable. How do you measure the goal? You making progress or not making progress? A is attainable. Do you have the knowledge and skill set that you need in order to make it happen? R, is your goal realistic? And realistic is open to interpretation, right? It's based on people because someone may have, if it was a smart goal around money, some people may have the means to add additional revenue to a savings account where other people may not. So you have to determine what's realistic for you. And then timely, is it a time stamp on it? Do I know that I'm getting to the end point of this goal? And people say, well, Maurice, I don't like doing goals because if I do a goal and I don't meet it, then I feel like a failure. Well, the cool thing about SMART goals is it's an opportunity for you to be accountable to yourself, but it's also an opportunity for you to be realistic with yourself about where you are, right? As you're getting, as you was, as, let's say that you had a 1 year goal, and as you're getting closer to that 1 year goal, you get to ask yourself, is this still simple, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely? You get to ask yourself, well, what's stopping me from making progress? You get to ask yourself, what barriers got into the way, right? Because remember, it's becoming empowered to transcend every roadblock, which means there are going to be roadblocks, there are going to be barriers. I'm not saying that your life is going to be, simple now that you have this strategy. What I'm saying is you now have a way to attack and address any roadblock or barrier that you're facing. And so being able to use smart goals is a great way to do that. And so the phrase that I use for smart goals is, it's a three-part sentence: who will do what by when, right? I found that this method was actually taught to me by Charlotte has this organization that does this systems of care training, and so the one of the facilitators said that to me years ago. This was probably 2008, 2009, and I've been teaching this the same way since then. And it just works. Who will do what by when? And this is the way I write the sentence: Maurice will save $100 a month. Excuse me. Maurice will save $1,200 by the end of the year, right? And I put a date on it. I'll say something like December 12th, because if I'm saving money, I'm saving money for. In my house, we still do Christmas, so we got Christmas stuff to buy. I gotta have all the money by December 1st, December 12th, December 17th, because I got to do all the shopping, and I might have to do it by November. But anyway, but that's the way I would write that goal. Maurice will save $100 a month. That's the goal. Because why? Because Maurice will do what? Save $100 by when? Every month, right? So it doesn't have to say by da 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 da. It's literally Maurice will go to bed by 9 p.m. nightly, right? Maurice will um, lose 20 pounds in 6 months. Maurice will um, teach his daughter to drive a car over the next 6 months. Like whatever that goal is, you can literally frame it in that way. And so once you have the goal, then you put the action steps in place, and it's the same framework. So if my goal is to lose 20 pounds in 6 months, well, the first action step will, what we call a objective. The first objective is Maurice will weigh himself every 14 days, right? Starting today. Why? Because I need to know how much I weigh today so that I know 6 months down the line if I've lost 20 pounds, right? Or maybe I've gained 20 pounds. Then and so my objectives, so my goal is to lose 20 pounds in 6 months. My objective is every step that I need to take to make sure that that's happening, right? So if my goal is to lose 20 pounds in 6 months, I'm gonna weigh myself every 14 days. I'm gonna drink a gallon of water. So Maurice will drink a gallon of water every day. Maurice will um, maintain a caloric deficit, 6 days out of the week. Yeah, give myself a cheat day, because why not? I can, because it's my life, it's my better, right? Maurice will only eat, cookies once a week, because I actually do go to the gym and I look like I work out, but my gut also looks like I like cookies and cake, because I do. Um, and so I'm being very realistic about me, my goals, and what it is that I want, and I get to evaluate that over time. I get to always go back to, am I doing what I said I was going to do? And if not, let me figure out, let me process what's stopping me, what's happening, and I don't feel like a failure. I get to say, man, no, I'm choosing this. Like if I get 4 months down the road to my goal of losing 20 pounds and I've lost 2 pounds, clearly I have not stuck to anything consistently what I said. And I get to say, well, Maurice, what's going on? And do I really want to lose 20 pounds? Or am I just saying that because it sounds good? I get to ask myself that. And then I get to go, you know what? And this is a truth moment for me, even in this piece of transparency. Growing up, I had a saying, and my brothers laugh at me. And the older I get, I laugh at myself. I had a saying, if you're not at least 6'3", 225 pounds, you don't want to see me. Now, anybody who knows me, and when I say see me, it means you don't want an altercation with me. But anybody who knows me and seen me physically, I am 5'4.5". I've always been a stocky guy. I've never been a really muscular guy until adulthood, but I was a small guy. But I would tell people, and I meant it. My heart was that big. If you ain't at least 6'3", 225 pounds, you don't want this. You don't want these problems. And as I got older, I said, "Oh, men that's under 200 pounds, these some little dudes. They ain't no you ain't a real man if you ain't over 200 pounds." Like I used to, as I'm joking and joshing with my friends. But here I am over the last 20 years going, man, I want to be 185 pounds. And every time I get right under 200 pounds, my body goes, nah, we ain't doing it. And it's like all these years I've been manifesting that real men weigh over 200 pounds. And in the last 10 years of my life, I'm like, I want to be under 200 pounds. And my body's like, nah, because we don't really believe that. And so even in this moment, I'm having a process, an out loud process and going, Maurice, you need to change your goal because you really don't want to be under 200 pounds. You really don't. You just want to look really good at 200 pounds. And so thank you for having me do that so I could process that for real in real time because I really don't want to be under 200 pounds. It just sounds good. Um, so SMART goals and the power of choice through the lens of SMART goals is the message that I want to leave you all with. Being able to determine what's better for you, actively deciding what that looks like and what that means. And now you also have an intervention, something that you can look back on and go, okay, I'm going to use SMART goals to help me kind of color my life with direction. So thank you, Sandra. I hope this was informative. And who's listening, hopefully, hopefully you get a takeaway with a little bit about the power of choice.
Thank you so much, Maurice. What I did want to know, but what I did want to ask you, and it doesn't look like we're going to get a chance to ask you because for whatever reason I'm experiencing technical issues this evening with StreamYard. I'm not really sure why, but we're having some technical issues. When I'm talking, it's appearing that I'm echoing, and I'm really not hearing. I'm really not liking this. So, are you able to hear me without the echo? Okay, so say you're able to hear me without the echo, and I do want to ask some questions because you're very correct when you say SMART goals. As an adult, as a business person, I know all about the SMART goals. But teaching our children about the SMART goals, is that something that Choose Better for You does?
Yes. So any client who comes in, SMART goals is something that I teach specifically as a strategy to figuring out how to make progress. So any client who comes into Choose Better for You, SMART goal is a tool that you get to put in your toolbox for your use.
And I think that's excellent. And this is why I'm thinking it's excellent, is because the younger you are when you learn a concept, the more it's able to stick with you. So if you're teaching the young people that you're working with those SMART goals, and you're teaching it to them not so much laid out as a business person does, but to get them to think and to continue to think, especially in our community, that's what we need. Because like you said it earlier, when you grew up in a single parent home, you know, really didn't have that role model in front of you to actually lay out different things, say, hey, you want to do this, this is how you get here. Or you grow up, right? And then sitting down with them and saying, okay, well, let's talk about this. How will you now? You know, as an adult, that what you talk about smart goals, they don't get it yet. They just think you ask them something and guide them down a path. I think that's excellent. I think that that's a really good way of teaching our young adults, especially in the African American community, when there's so much negativity out here that impacts them, that that's a given, right? What you're doing is unique, and it's what you call thinking outside the box. So for those who are listening today, hopefully you're able to get a clearer version of this. Uh, think like Maurice does, and Maurice does, in the group that he works with, his clients, how they benefiting from sitting down and saying, well, I'm this when I'm be a police officer when I grow up. And then asking them the questions that are written into the SMART goal package so that you can get them to start thinking not so much about, oh, I can't do this, but I can do this. And these are the steps that I have to take in order to get there. So when it comes down to our community, that's what we need. We don't need to be standing in the back pointing fingers or yelling at our kids, they don't do anything, really, really tearing them down mentally. That's not something that's going to help us. Maurice, I do have a question. Like, now, I know that you're in Charlotte, but do you actually also do like telehealth with children, with parents or with young adults that need the help that maybe don't have access to a therapist that's like you, that understands them, and you understand them, which is the excellent point about this. You understand them because you was them. So is
Yeah.
there like any do you help do telehealth or do you have a connection outside of Charlotte that you can turn to and say, hey, bro, or sis, I have this child, they live in your area, they need help. Since we think along the same lines, do you think that you can help them, or is that just something that you can't or you don't?
So the really cool thing about one being a therapist, two being a social worker, and three being a business owner is this. As a therapist, I'm limited to where I'm licensed, right? So as a therapist, I'm only licensed in North Carolina and South Carolina. um as a social worker, I know that my heart is for the community, and the community doesn't just mean where I live. It's about people who come from places who are looking for support, right? And I've worked with populations as young as 4 and as old as 80, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, um, European, across the gambit, across mental health crisis, work related stress, relationship, communication issues, mother and son, father and daughter. If you name it, I've probably done a lot of work in it. The only two things that I would say I'm highly inexperienced with, are things like eating disorders and those kind of things, right? Um, as a business owner, there's a something that I learned a couple of years ago, and I promote a lot, is coaching, right? So although I can't be a therapist for someone in the 48 other states or across international waters, and those kind of things, I can coach, right? I have a business, and under my business I can coach, right? Under my brand, Choose Better for You, I can coach. And so what that does, and I've had quite a handful of clients from out of North and South Carolina who reached out to me and say, hey Maurice, you have therapy skills, and I know that you're not a therapist licensed in my state. However, you have skill sets that I would love to connect with. Is there any way you can work with me? And I tell them about coaching and what that means. Now, you can get coaching with me, sure, or you can find someone who's local to your area, who knows the community and the resources and those kind of things, and know the climate of the community and what's happening. Um, as well, I'm a therapist that believe that not everybody needs therapy. Some people need coaching. Some people just need support. And so I tell people all the time, like, if you don't feel like therapy is a good fit for you, that's absolutely fine. First, try a few therapists, but if that's not what you're looking for, consider a life coach. So yes, to answer your question, short answer: people who are not in North and South Carolina who are looking to work directly with me can absolutely contract me to do coaching work with them.
Oh, but I was on mute. I do have a question. Can you explain to us what is the difference? You touched upon it briefly, but it's really important for those who are listening, whether listening tonight or listening at some other time during the day, what the difference is between you having a coach on your side and you having a therapist on your side.
So the difference between a therapist and a life coach is, to me, very simple. So a therapist has degree and, license specifically to do the work that they're saying they do. The they have the education component, right? Coaches and really good coaches go on to get training and that kind of deal, right? You get specialized perhaps in a certain way. But here's the thing about coaching that I really can appreciate. Coaching says that there's someone who is in a place in their life that you go, you know what? I really want to connect with them in a way that's going to help me become a better version of me. And that could be a therapist. That could be someone who never graduated high school, right? A coach is literally someone who comes along with you in life and is able to do things in support of what your goals are, right? Now, again, really good coaches have training. They may not have diplomas and formal um, degrees and that kind of deal. But really good coaches have certifications to do things like cognitive behavior therapy, tactics, to do dialectical behavior therapy, which is again therapy, but they're not therapists. They learn these same skill sets and are able to apply those skill sets to the coach work that they're doing. Then you have coaches that are like, hey, I'm really good at life stuff, and they might not go to get any kind of certification, but they've navigated all kind of systems, and now they're like, hey, I have life experience, and contract me to help me contract me, and I'll help you learn to navigate systems, right? And so that's the difference between a therapist. Again, this is a licensed person, um, and they are vetted by systems that say they have the ability to do this work, and that kind of deal. Whereas coaches don't have necessarily a governing body who says you're qualified to coach. So really anybody can become a coach. And so if you're going to look for a coach, I would highly recommend that you do your due diligence, because the same way, I tell people and at Choose Better For You, when clients come in, they say, I'm kind of shopping around. Man, finding a good therapist is like finding a good barber or hairstylist. Just because somebody recommends them to you because they do good work with them doesn't mean you're going to get the same result. And that doesn't mean the therapist is terrible. That doesn't mean that you as a client are terrible. I mean, you're not a good fit, right? And that's one of the things that, promoted me going into therapy, because I think representation matters. There are people who look at me and go, oh man, that's the guy I want to see. The guy with the dreadlocks and the gold bottoms. He got tattoos. He sound like me. That's the guy. And I have people that look at me and go, I'd never talk to that guy. And that's absolutely fine, because every therapist is not for everybody. And if you don't want to talk to me, I probably don't want to talk to you either. And that works out really well for both of us.
I'm sitting here chuckling because I'm like, I was waiting for you to bring it because I know how you you said that's fine because you don't want to talk to me. I don't want to talk to you either. Right? So I'm laughing. I'm sitting here I'm like trying to not laugh, but I'm like, I knew at some point that you was gonna bring it and you was gonna bring it real. And I tell you this all the time. I told you this the first time that you were on this show with our lovely Shonda Space. That's what I'm expecting for you to do. And I'm expecting for you to do this for this reason, Maurice. We as a community, we have to stop messing around, right? We got to stop like walking on these, like, let's walk on our tippy toes because we're afraid if we say something that is putting it in their face, they're going to, be hurt against us or be vote against us or they're not going to get it. Or whatever. But we have to work at a point in time where we can no longer say, okay, well, just give me a little sugar, instead of saying, give me a shovel and let me dig, right? So I was waiting for you. I know that you was like, I'm gonna hold it here,
I was trying to be on
but
chill
I
tonight.
can't. And I'm glad you didn't because that's what this month is about. This month is about a few things. One, I sit in plenty of rooms with plenty of people that always say, we trying to get African American voice, Sandra. How can we get it? And my whole thing to them is ask us. When you ask us, be transparent about it. I, on the other hand, look in the community that I live in, I look all the time at us. And when I say us, I'm taking ownership because yes, I'm an African American woman. So this month is all about me. It's about me understanding it's about me and helping others to see that it's about them as well, right? Whether black, white, purple, green. With us, it's about for the African American slash it's about us owning our history. It's about us standing on the shoulders of our ancestors who couldn't do what me and you do. They just couldn't for fear that they would lose or they beat down so bad that they don't want to talk anymore. So they couldn't do it. This is about moving it forward. For those who are not black or African American culture, what I say all the time is this. You want to know about us? We're no different than you. You want to know about us? Come ask us. But when you ask us, take all that biasm out of what you're asking. Like you say, with Maurice, they see you with dread. They don't know where you went to school at. They don't know nothing. That biasm already automatically steps in. And that biasm automatically has them saying, I ain't going to talk to him. Who he think he is? He a bum. Without knowing anything about you, right? Other cultures do that to us, but we also do it to us. We have to stop doing it to us. So that means we got to come real. We got to lay down the law and say, look, this is how it is, and ain't nothing you can do about it. If you don't stop it, it's going to continue, right? Stop all of this foolishness. So I'm like I said, I was laughing hysterically because I was like, I'm just waiting. He being nice. And I know he ain't nice, so I'm waiting for him to say something. We have Carolyn Coleman that came in. She said the power of choice. That's right. We all have a choice. And I tell patients this all the time. If you go to a provider and you're seeking help, and they tell you you either do it this way or that way, you need to go find you another provider, whether it's a mental health therapist, whether it's a physical health therapist, because there are always options. The problem with us as a community and a culture is that we a lot of times don't know that there's resources and that there's options. So we sit back and quietly don't open our mouths and don't say a thing. Well, we got to stop doing that. Also saying that life should make goals attainable. And I agree. Like I say, I believe that they're attainable, especially with the younger people, because your mind knows what a smart goal is. You know that I'm gonna teach them smart goals. They just don't know it yet, right? But when they're young, they're doing it because you're saying, okay, well, let's handle it this way. But guess what? When they get in high school or college and that smart goal up again, they're like, oh, I learned that from Anna Reese when I was seeing him. They're just that much further ahead. And that's what us as a community actually has to do. We have to stop walking in step. And we have to do things that go outside of us talking in step. And one of the best things that we can do as a community is start with our young. Start with our young. Because if we don't start with our young the way they killing each other off right now, what's tomorrow gonna be like? What is it gonna be like? Um, Dr. Carol Scott was saying excellent. She's telling you thank you. I so agree. I'm not sure how many black male therapists there so much imagine that the numbers are low, but this I know is a fact. They're not out here doing what you're doing. They're not out here doing it. They're talking and they're saying, yeah, we want to do better, but they're not putting up and they're not stepping up to the plate and they're not, at least in the numbers that we need them to be in, they're not stepping up to the plate and saying, let's get this up, right? So that I agree with. And then Dr. Sharon C is saying, good evening, everyone. And I agree with Dr. Sharon C up and what her, well, the organization that she's a board member on, what they do. They flip the switch, right? And they do what you're doing with young men, they do with the women and with the young girls. This is it. That's a connection that needs to be made because they need each other, right? The girls and the young ladies need the boys and the men. Getting that together, especially in the community, close your eyes and imagine if you can in 2, 3, 4 years, right? A collaboration like that, where each one is helping you, right? Like she stated yesterday, we are our sister's keeper. We are our sister and our brother's keeper, right? We can't move forward without us depending on each other to push it forward. I so appreciate you's better. I so appreciate you. I know the Many Health Foundation appreciates you coming forward this evening, despite the technical issues, and speaking to us because we needed to hear it. And always remember this: when you're talking to us, tell us the truth. Lay it down the way it needs to be laid down. Just like some people might not want to work with you, but guess what? You don't work with them either. It ain't a matter of heaven. You know, it's a
Respect.
mismatch. And that's good, right? They go somewhere else and get whatever it is that they need to get. But this is it. We need to know the truth. We need to stop trying to walk around and go, how can I say this where I won't tick people off? Tick them off. Continue. What John would say? Get in good trouble.
Yeah. Good trouble. Hey, that's my frat brother. So
Is telling us the truth because we need to hear it. The more we hear it, the more we will make a difference. If we don't hear it, what we doing is fine. We'll know inside of ourselves that it's not fine, but we'll continue to do it and we'll continue to do it because guess what? Anybody saying so we'll continue to do it. And that's not a good
yeah.
so before I
Yeah.
close out for the evening, so remember, like thinking about what can I say? How can I say this? Andrew told me to be true. Santa Claus, hey, I tell people this all the time. You have something, and we all of us, but you have something that can nobody take away from you, and that's your education. You're an educated black male. Nobody can take that away from you. So if they don't like what you're saying, move move on. Because you, at the end of the day, that power that you earned, then nobody give it to you. I'm sure when you was doing your license exams and all that stuff, you was praying for somebody to give it to you. It's like you could give it, just give this to me. I can do all this study. But they made
Mm-mm.
just that much harder. So always
Yeah.
remember that and let them, you respect yourself and set them boundaries of look, I'm gonna be honest and I'm gonna be real. You either like it or you don't like it. Everybody's not
Yeah.
gonna like you. You're not gonna have a world full of friends, and guess what? You don't really want a world full of friends because it causes problems. But continue
Yeah.
to speak truth to us, especially to our young black male, the other males as well, and the other cultures that you work with, but especially for our young black African American males, keep talking truth to them because they need to hear it. And talking to them, and in addition to talking to them, show it to them. Show them. This is what I was like you. This is where I was, but this is what I. You want what I got? This is how you do it. Teach them because that's the only way they're gonna learn.
Respect.
I
Absolutely.
thank you. I thank you. I thank you for bringing it real. Although you made me wait for an hour. I thank you so much for bringing it real. I'm enjoying the time that you and I have spent. You came forward a month ago. You're back to now. I'm going to call on you in June when I do Men's Health Month. So I'm hoping
Absolutely.
you'll be available in June as well. But this I do want to tell you, I appreciate you. And from the comments that we're getting, and if you have additional comments that come in afterwards, I'll go ahead and put them out there. But know that you are indeed appreciated for what you do and who you are.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Um, and just like last time, anyone who's trying to get in touch with me, um, my websites are easy, choosebetterforyou.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, A Maurice Harvey. Um, uh, Black Male Therapist of Charlotte. You can look for that on LinkedIn as well. And as well, the acronym Black Male Therapist of Charlotte is BMT, and then the shorthand of Charlotte is CLT. So bmtclt.org. Um, and just full transparency, I give out my phone number. So my phone number is 980-202-2526. That's it's a Google Voice number, but it comes straight to my phone. I have access to it. You can leave a voicemail. I'm very accessible. As a matter of fact, when I was on last time, I got in touch with a young man. Got in touch with me, and he and I have talked twice on Zoom, because he's I think he's in Jersey. But again, like you said, the power of connectivity and collaboration. My entire life work is built on collectivism. As a matter of fact, in transparency, I'm a member of Phi Beta Sigma, again is a testament to who I am. Sigma being the sum of all, and understanding that the sum of all is more important than the sum of one. And so it really just again speaks volumes about who I am, because I believe in collectivism. What's the saying? If you want to go fast, go by yourself. But if you want to go far, go with others. And I truly believe that I want to go far. I'm not caught up on. I grew up with nothing, so you know what I'm saying. Like I'm not worldly, where I just got to have all these big flashy things. I want to see the people around me rise to the occasion and go as far as they can go. And so I'd rather go slow and do it well than to skyrocket and be something. And I believe that specifically, if you go far fast and you're not in a position where you can characteristically handle that, then it's going to fall apart anyway. And so where I'm at is where I'm supposed to be, and when I get to where I'm going, I'm supposed to be there too.
You know what? And you're so true about that. And one thing that you just said that resonates with things that I said is this. And you show it when you took the time and you've been taking the time to talk to that young man on Zoom twice. You didn't have to do that. But this is a thing. If all of us in our community do what I encourage everyone to do, which is each one, reach one, teach one. If we keep that going, if we keep that paying it forward, our community will uprise. Uprise, you mighty people. We are all mighty people in this culture. We just have to recognize, realize it, accept it, and let it grow. And so many times we don't, we fall short of that. We each one and we reach one. Then we say, what? No, no, that's not what we're supposed to do. Each one, reach one, and teach one. Reach that person, teach that person, and encourage that person to teach someone else so that we can continue to learn and continue to grow. No one is going to come to save us. No one is going to offer us a life and going to say, here you go, do it. In our community, it's just not going to happen. So close your eyes and imagine that going around. But close your eyes even tighter and imagine a world where each of us, regardless of what our social economic factor is in life or status in life, if we each do the same thing, regardless of the person's color, race, sex, whatever, if each of us take one person, reach one person, and when we reach that person, encourage that one person to reach someone else, I mean, there's the dynamics of the world. How can we go
Yeah.
wrong if all of us are our brother and sister's keeper? But for this
Yeah.
particular month, let's start at home. And that home is in for us is in the African American slash Black community, not
Yeah.
just in the United States, but on a global basis.
Yeah.
Let's start at home with teaching, reaching one, and teaching one, so that when we get grown, we grow up adulting, we can actually push it forward and say, okay, well now we got us together. Now let's get together with other people so that together we can grow. So
Yeah.
I thank you, A. Maurice. I look forward to speaking to you even further, bringing you on in June for Men's Health Month, as I've done all month long, because I know it's going to be a task for me to get. I'm looking for a minimum of 15 African American men. Actually, it doesn't even have to be African American because because June is Men's Health Month. It doesn't have a color. So if you know someone that's a male figure that has something to do with either indirectly or directly with um, men and men's health, please have them outreach me and drop me a line and say, hey, Sandra, I'm interested in talking, and this is what I want to talk about. If you have a product that you're selling and it's indirectly or directly related to physical or mental health, do the same thing. Reach out to me. If you think that this might not have something to do with health, reach out to me and say, Sandra, I'd like to talk on this. How can we make this happen? I'm open to talking and seeing what we could do to get at least 15 men to speak to men during the month of June. We have the same thing coming up in March, where we have 15 international women leaders in the various aspects of healthcare that will be bringing conversation forth throughout the month of March. I'd love to be able to have Charms do the same thing in June with men. Tomorrow, we will have Genesis Medical Research on. They will be covering clinical trials and why it's important for the African American community to participate in clinical trials. So, with that being said, I will go ahead and close out the evening. But before I do, I want you, A. Maurice, to give us three tips, three real tips, or let me do you, and give us three tips that you want us to walk away with reference choosing that.
Man, three takeaway points. Can you still hear me good?
I can't.
Okay. Three takeaway points about power of choice. First tip is to take inventory about what is happening in your life. Because without acknowledging where you are in your life, you can't really make an active decision. Two, after you've taken inventory, have an assessment of kind of what you have going on. Um, decide which are some decide what are some things that you want to change, right? Because you know you could start anywhere, but you got to start somewhere. So you can start anywhere, but you got to start somewhere. Um, and so once you kind of taken an inventory, and once you've decided some things that you want to change, implement SMART goals, right? One, two, three. That simple. Take inventory, decide that you want to make some changes and what changes you want to make, and then use SMART goals to kind of navigate that. Um, Earlier, Sandra said that I self-published two books. So these two books that I self-published in my free time, I like to write, and so these are Black love stories, basically, um, based out of the city of Charlotte. So if you go on Amazon, Queen City Life is the name of the book, and it's under my pen name, which is Dremo, Dremoe. But I also just this past week self-published three different journals, and these are around mental health. And so this is brand new, it's fresh. Only one of the journals is actually available right now, and it's again on Amazon. And if you type in Maurice Harvey, oh wait, another one just popped up. Look at that, won't he will. Um, but one is called Sense and Share, a journaling experience. That's a collaborative effort of myself and my wife. We put together a journaling experience for couples. Um, and then we also um, have another journaling experience called excuse me, Sense and Share is not for couples. Sense and Share is specifically around grounding and mindfulness. So it's helping use your senses in order to kind of calm, right? And then we have a couples journaling experience, my wife and I, called Sensuality for Us. Um, Sensuality for Us. And it takes you through, right, again, writing prompts where you can use writing as a communication tool because sometimes it's hard to have verbal conversations. Some people are better just better at writing. But then there's also challenges at the end of the writing prompts um, to kind of encourage partnership and connectivity through different experiences. Something like feeding each other food, right? Or um, soul gazing, or truth or dare, right? Like so, it could be fun, right? And then the last journal is called Seeing, Thinking, and Feeling, and this journal is more geared towards late elementary to middle school guys specifically. I mean, it's really what it is on one page, it's a coloring sheet. But in this sheet, there are things that are happening, right? So it may be a group of guys standing on the corner dressed in urban attire while there's another guy walking away from that. As a matter of fact, the cover is kind of what this is. And he's wearing a business attire. And so there's a coloring sheet where you're kind of coloring it, right? But then on the right side, it says, what do you see? What do you think? And what do you feel? And it's important to be able to differentiate that as you process and learn how to express yourself, especially for guys, because we're often taught not to talk. And I know I'm kind of going on a little bit, but you said something earlier about um the organization and the young lady, my sister's keeper. I don't remember what the name of it was, but I use this analogy so often. You take two-year olds, a male and a female, right? And this is just kind of a societal view, right? Two kids, a male and a female, 2 years old. They outside playing. The little boy falls. Society typically says what? Get up. You'll be all right. Go and play. The little girl falls, and society says what? Oh, come here. Let me see. Tell me about it. So very early on, boys are taught don't even talk, just keep going after whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. You know what I'm saying? You'll be all right. And girls are taught to talk, literally. Tell me about it. Fast forward 20 years later, they decided they're gonna date. So now you have these two 22-year-olds who all his life the boy been told, hey, you'll be all right, bro. Go ahead on, do your thing. And the little girl's been taught, hey, come here, tell me about what's going on. And this is how simple conflict happens in relationship. Guy comes home frustrated, clearly from whatever's going on in the world. And the first thing the woman says is, tell me what's going on, babe. And he's like, nah, everything cool. She like, in her head, man, he's so dismissive. He don't talk about his feelings. I feel like he doesn't care, right? A guy comes home. I mean, guy's home. Young lady comes home. She's clearly, whatever's going on in her life, she comes home frustrated. The guy goes, oh, hey, babe, how you doing? You know what I'm saying? Oh, man, hey, you know what? Chin up. It's going to be all right. You know what I'm saying? And the young lady goes, oh my goodness, wait, what's going on? I want to tell him about my day, but he didn't even ask, right? And it's a conflict because the guy is thinking, hey, yeah, I'm doing my thing. I'm telling my girl everything cool, and I'm not burdening her with my problems. You know what I'm saying? Like, boom, this is what the world told me. And the young lady is like, man, I just really want him to open up and know that I'm his partner. I'm with him. I'm trying to, I'm ride or die. Like I'm really, I care about his emotional wellness, but he won't open up. I feel like I'm not, he don't understand what I need. And it literally happens like that all the time. I have clients that come in, it's like they don't know how to talk, they don't know how to listen, they don't know how to, meet me where I am. And it's something as simple as what we as society teach at as early ages too. So anyway, that was a lot. But so the answer to your question, 3 tips to take away, right? Take inventory, decide you want to make changes, and then use a tool like smart goals in order to do that. And again, I have 3 journals. They can be found on Amazon. um, Seeing, Thinking, and Feeling, sensuality for us, and sense and share a journaling experience. And those are other tools that you can use to put in your toolbox.
And with that being said, I want to thank you so much. And once again, as I always say, if it was a lot of information and you're like, well, I would like to hear that again, or you want to know how to actually reach a Maurice to get a copy of the journal, one journal, two journal, three journals, reach out. I we have these links. Tom's has these links. We're actually giving them to you for free so that you can share these links with your community so that together we can continue to learn. All I need is for you to reach out to me and say, hey, Sandra, I would love to have it, as well as collaboration. So Dr. C is on, again, she's on, and she'll for sure she will. Charnel is listening. The name of her organization is Watch Women After the Storm. But it's important for the two, I think it will be a good collaboration tool for the two of your organizations to get together to talk about how we can actually work for both the girls and the boys and how we can bring that piece together. So, with that being said, I am going to go ahead and close out this interview. Thank you so much, A. Maurice, for spending time with us today. I look forward to you in coming in June. And once again, have the rest of a beautiful, beautiful day.